but so it was such a trip because I opened my mouth and I heard Korra's voice and I was like, uh-oh, no, that's her voice. And so it was weird because I assumed when I got into animation that it would all be, funny voices all the time. And the fact that they just wanted me to use my voice ended up being like the strangest thing. But again, watching it, anytime I would just sit down to watch it, I would just get completely immersed. So I wasn't even thinking like, oh, I could have said that differently or anything like that. It felt like it came into the world complete, if that makes sense.
Please give a warm Altoona welcome to Janet Varney.
What are you all doing here? This is too many people. Hello. I hope that it was quiet enough in here that you could hear me talking about my lunch order because it was happening with the doors wide open. I was like, what do I feel like eating?
Nobody knows you ordered the chicken platter. Nobody knows.
Great. Hi. How are you, friends? Hi, Kyle. Great to see you again.
Yeah, it was awesome. Awesome having you on the Avatar panel yesterday.
Oh gosh, yeah, that was so fun. That was so fun. Yeah, I'm obsessed with that show. So, Baby Appa. Yeah, it's the tongue that really gets you. The little Baby Appa tongue as it eats presumably cabbages. Sorry, cabbage merchant. Oh no, I'm so sorry. But if you could just give me those.
How can you eat things with faces on them?
That's a good point. Well, it's...
Cut the faces off.
For those of us who enjoy all things Japanese, I guess we've gotten used to food with faces, and we still eat it.
Well, you gotta eat. So
we gotta eat.
Do you want to talk a little bit about, how you got started in acting and voice acting, and then we go to questions, or do you want to go right to questions? It's totally up to you.
I'm happy to do whatever. I mean, my biggest fear is not getting to everyone's questions, so we can totally start with questions, and then when everyone runs out of questions, then I'll be like, anyway, here's my life story, as people slowly trickle out. Oh, Tucson, goodbye.
Well, does anyone have a question? Okay, a couple people.
All right, this is promising. This is promising.
All right, starting over here. First question, no pressure.
Hi.
Hi. And tell me your name. I mean, some of you I know your names because I've seen you already, but for those of you who I may not have.
I'm Molly.
Hi, Molly.
What was it like to be able to play the Avatar and then in Legend of Vox Machina play the character whose entire race was based on Avatar?
It was a real treat. Molly IE, right? Yeah. Okay, yeah.
She's very excited.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I've known those folks for quite a while. I hosted this show on Geek and Sundry when it was Felicia Day's company called Escape. And it was an escape room show. It's still on YouTube. You can see it if you like that kind of thing. We had a bunch of people from other fandoms, from other universes, including the Critical Role folks. And Sam Riegel I've known for like 20 years. So we've always talked about me trying to do a campaign or something, and it just hasn't happened yet. But they reached out about the that role, and I was like, yes, that would be amazing. And it was so fun to see the second that sort of leaked out into the world, or that it aired, that people really did understand that crossover and really thought it was appropriate and good casting. So that was very cool. But hopefully I'll get to do more with them because I love them. Thanks, Molly.
Okay, hands again. I know there were. Okay, we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hello, my name is Maggie.
Hi, Maggie.
So this is an interesting question. I am currently building a Avatar: The Last Airbender homebrewed D&D campaign.
Okay, good for you.
Well, for these two.
And my other friends. Hello,
yes, and
friends.
my other friends. My question to you is, if you could pick any aspect of the lore of Avatar, whether it be from The Last Airbender or Korra, that you think would be a good addition to the story or pertinent to the story, what would you pick?
Add something that doesn't exist as of now, or
that already exists, maybe. What do you think would be a really good addition to the story?
I'm trying to think of okay, so you're doing this campaign that has a specific sort of end goal and And you're asking me if there's something that you should incorporate. I'm taking this way too seriously. I'm like, give me 10 minutes, everybody, let's meet back here. I'll have the red string. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm wondering if you're gonna like bring bloodbending into the campaign at all. I don't know. It's like it's definitely the thing I'm the most freaked out by, but I also feel like I could almost see more of it too. Is that bad? That's like, I shouldn't want that, but I don't know. That like exploring that a little bit more could be interesting. I don't know. It could be more like, I feel like we could see it like even more along the lines of like a person who thinks a person who is almost like an Amon, who like truly is catching who is truly like actually, that is not a good example of Amon, but like the person who is like a Dexter. Do you know what I mean? Like the person who's like, I'm stopping bad people with bloodbending, but like the bloodbending itself is still sort of inherently wrong. Do you know what I mean? I think that would be cool because that creates that kind of anti-hero that I like watching. Yeah, I mean, I know. Good luck with that.
And make sure that all your food has faces. Okay.
And of course, all food has faces.
Well, we're going to go here. We had here. We'll get to everybody, we hope.
Hi, I'm Dave Orlando, and my whole family is here, like 12 of us, so
oh
it's been great.
Gosh, how cool
so
is
it's been a lot
that?
of fun. And the question I have, and I think I ask a lot of actors this question, and that is, when you're doing the voice acting, did you actually know the whole story or just any piece of it?
Oh gosh, no. Yeah, no way. No.
Did you actually, have you seen the show?
Yes.
Itself, you have, because a lot of actors can't watch themselves.
No, that's true. I don't like, well, that's the good thing about animation is for the most part, you're not watching yourself. And that was really the experience I had more with Korra than anything else I had done. I hadn't done much animation up to that point, but like seeing the first moment, doing ADR for Korra was still very mechanical. Like it was still very like, oh, you're very self-conscious because you're matching grunts and, falling sounds and all that. But just being passive and sitting back for the premiere and seeing Korra start talking was the most surreal experience because that world is so immediately real that I was completely engaged and I completely forgot that it was me. To the point where it finished and like it was Nickelodeon did this great premiere with like I got to see it on a big movie screen and stuff, and it finished and we all excitedly like stood up and went to go into the party or whatever, and so someone came up to me and was like, oh my gosh, how amazing was that? And I was like, oh, it's so amazing. And it felt like I had, because I also have already experienced like the sort of depersonalization thing. It's out there on the internet if you've ever read that about me. When I was like 18, 19, I started having these weird depersonalization episodes where I was like, I'm not in my body. Like, what's a tongue? How do eyes work? I don't recommend it for those of you who are thinking you want to dabble. But so it was such a trip because I opened my mouth and I heard Korra's voice and I was like, uh-oh, no, that's her voice. And so, so it was weird because I assumed when I got into animation that it would all be, funny voices all the time. And the fact that they just wanted me to use my voice ended up being like the strangest thing. But again, watching it, anytime I would just sit down to watch it, I would just get completely immersed. So I wasn't even thinking like, oh, I could have said that differently or anything like that. It felt like it came into the world complete, if that makes sense. So.
Awesome. Now did you?
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
I love you so much. Anyway,
this is Erin, everyone.
Hi, everyone. So we were trying to think of a question, like you said earlier. Okay, our question is, if the Avatar universe had a Hunger Games, and it was all run by the Avatar people, they had like a council of avatars, like all the past lives sitting around
this is
together.
Amazing. We all need to like go on a retreat and just create things together. This is like a brain trust group.
So who do you think would win? So they have like the ability to do anything they want. They can make whatever world they want.
Oh no!
Who would win? It just can't be
are we dividing it up by like bending
it
abilities?
Could be
like
any bender, anything. Who would win?
Oh no! The avatars are just kicking back and judging.
Yeah.
I guess the world must be perfect if they don't have anything to do with this. Boy, I don't know. That's a great question. Like, we got a chanter over here who has a very strong opinion. Caleb, what do you think? Toph. Okay, so you're going one single person would win. It's not even like a particular style. Sokka, interesting twist. Interesting twist. It's like no one saw that coming. The benefit is he doesn't have powers, and he fooled everyone. Yeah, that's a great question. No, good. Don't even. We saw how that turned out. Ay, ay, ay. I mean, it's a great. I guess Momo is not maybe a bender. I mean, it could be Appa. Appa is a bender. Appa's an airbender. That's canon. He is. Is someone asking me if that's true? It is true. Sky bisons can airbend. That's how they fly. And I only know that because Mike and Brian told us on Braving the Elements. I don't know. I was just going in my mind of just thinking about the different, like, styles or the different ability, like boiling down to one person. Yeah, sure, I'll go Toph. Why not?
Thank you.
Hi, Kristen.
I just wanted to record this. Hi, Janet. I don't know if you remember me. But...
I said hi, Kristen.
Oh, I didn't. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. Okay, so
question's over. Next.
Damn, I blew it. So we met on Friday, and I'm actually really surprised that you remember my name because I'm sure you meet.
I can't promise it for everyone. It's one of those things where, like, it depends on how much I've eaten or like rested. There might be ones that slip, and then I'll kill myself for not knowing what they are. But Kristen, I made listen to this whole story. There are two of you that are both therapists that I was talking about, like, this whole story about this. Never mind.
Yeah.
A story I had just read, and I was like, I have to tell you everything about this story I just read.
Yeah, so like as you already said, I'm a therapist. Obviously for anyone who doesn't know, and no one would know but Janet. So like I told you that I use a lot of the principles from Avatar, and
Yes.
like one of the main principles is like helping my clients to bring balance to their lives. So I was just wondering like. From Korra or the Avatar verse in general, like what is the biggest lesson that you take from,
Wow.
Korra, Avatar, anywhere?
Oh,
in the
what
verse?
a great question. Woo! That made me choke up so fast. Because I do not want to cry. I think time is an illusion, so is death. Like, I think that moment in the swamp is just like such a gut punch for any of us who've lost someone or who lost someone, but having that understanding, like that doesn't feel like the right word, but some days it does, but some days it feels like the absolute most wrong word. And so for me, that was like lovely, because if you don't have a conventional belief in an afterlife or whatever, if you can't define it the way some folks can, and all power to those of you who can, I have tremendous envy of that. I think that was like, and that everything's connected, right? That's part of that whole kind of iconic moment of the show, and everything's connected is huge, huge, huge for me, because when I was younger, I used to feel like it was important to be different, or important to, like, I'm not special unless I'm special, kind of. And the older I've gotten, the more comfort I've taken from being like, oh, I'm a human being. My people, like, so many of us are feeling the same things and worrying about the same things. And, I used to, like, I just went to the Georgia Aquarium when I was at MomoCon, and I was standing in front of the beluga whales, and I was like, the kid part of me was like, I think that one's looking at me. Like, I think I have a special connection with these whales that no one else has ever felt before. And then my next thought was like, oh, that's what everyone thinks. And I was like, and we're all right. Like, and if our biggest problem is that we all want to have a magical connection with a whale, we're going to be okay. Like, do you know what I mean? So we're all connected.
I feel like you are a very in tune person. I'm like, this is a compliment, like, because I'm also very emotional. But I feel like you are also very emotional.
Worst game face of anyone ever. Thank you. I hope so. I mean, I hope to always be better. Thank you. Oh, no more like that.
This question might make me cry, but what was it like doing the Korra Alone episode, just representing like PTSD and that struggle a lot of people go through?
Sure.
And what that was like, you like embodying that character and what Korra went through?
It was very emotional. It was very familiar. I have absolutely dealt with a lot of kind of physical and trauma stuff that was like, I absolutely know and have said, and I've talked about this with some of you who experienced something similar, but like, I have absolutely had that thought train in my head of like, if I can't do blank, then who even am I? If I can't do this, I don't matter. Or, you know, something that felt like, it feels like it's so hardwired into what gives you your strength or your identity or, you know, your courage or what have you, to have some part of that feel like it's been taken away from you, whether it is the ability to walk or to see or to process something emotionally. I definitely can identify with that. And so, you know, that was one of those things where I already couldn't believe that I had gotten to do what I had been a part of up to that point. From the moment I read the first episode of Korra, I was like, I cannot believe I get to be a part of this show. When will they fire me? Which is not a good voice to have. Don't do that. Like, we don't need to do that to ourselves. But I definitely did. I was like, I'm sure I'm going to screw up. Something's going to happen. And halfway through, they're going to be like, we're replacing you. And so once it got through season 3, and then, you know, everything that happened in season 3, and seeing that there wasn't a hard reset for book 4, which of course it's Mike and Brian. It's not going to be a hard reset. And I did have that moment where I sort of projected ahead, having already done some cons and had these meaningful conversations with people. And like, I thought about what the new conversations might be. And I was just blown away. You know, I was like, oh my God, like, it's going to go even deeper. We're going to be even tighter as a community. Like, this is crazy. And then the way season 4 ended, I was like, what? Like, now we have this to talk about? Like, there's not going to be enough time in the line. And there never is, for those of you who have stood and waited. So it feels like always so much to say. That's why we need the retreat. But yeah, so it was such a privilege. And you know, it feels so good at the end of a record when you feel like the people on the other side of the glass are like, you know, Andrea is not like a super effusive person. She's, you know, but the love is there. Like, it's just this wonderful, powerful feeling that you get from her with just, and this sounds like diminutive, but I think what she said then and what she said about something, and it might maybe when Korra was like electrocuted, because I remember that was a really hard thing to imagine going through, or blood, something like, you know, those moments, there would just be this, she would let the silence sort of sit out there, and then she would just go, good girl. And that sounds like she's talking to a dog, but that's not how she meant it. Do you know what I mean? And it felt so good to know that those people that I respect so much, having the writers and having Andrea in there, to feel like, okay, like I did a service to this wonderful thing that was made. It's the best feeling. It's the second best feeling. This is the best feeling, but the second best feeling, truly, the second best feeling is that moment for sure.
Awesome. I'm going to take some questions over here. I'll be back to you guys. Don't worry. All right, we'll start here.
Hi, my name is Luke. I'm part of that crew.
The 12-person crew. Hi, Luke.
Hi. So Avatar, when it came out, is, I mean, really a show that pushed a lot of boundaries, not just in like children's animation and Nickelodeon, which was like SpongeBob, right?
Yeah.
But then Legend of Korra was able to do things that, Mike and Brian weren't able to do in the first series. Even like the polar bear dog was like the original design for Aang's companion. And they were like, we can do that again. We can do that now,
Satisfying.
So like now with like essentially a blank check for who knows how much else coming out, like, where do you think I don't know if, I know that you can't necessarily talk about
100%
right,
cannot.
But, what are some things that you would like to see pushed in the boundaries that they were not able to do in Korra?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Boy.
Outside the obvious last episode conundrum.
Sure.
Or including the last episode conundrum. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
I
like everyone else. I mean, I loved Turf Wars, and I loved getting to do a couple of readings during the pandemic with Seychelles to sort of breathe a little bit of character life into the amazing writing and the amazing artwork that Irene Tu did. And sorry, not Irene Tu. I have two different friends who have very similar names, and I've done that so many times that Irene did, and just. Loved that, but of course, would be very happy to see some iteration of that animated, or just some other part of it that hasn't happened yet, or what have you. As far as like pushing boundaries, that's a great question. I don't have an immediate answer for that, but do you have something in mind? I'd love to hear from you all what comes up for you.
Well, my wife just said Avatar Pandemic.
Said what? Oh, Avatar Pandemic?
Yeah.
We've talked about that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think especially if they're going closer to modernity with an Earthbender Avatar after Korra, it would be remiss to drop the sort of bombshell that Amon dropped on the Avatar world of like, hey, equality matters. There are literally people being born into this world that have a distinct biological advantage in this world, and they're living that advantage through economic success, through these lines of nobility, and that's not fair.
Yeah.
And like, while his intentions were selfish, his message definitely resonated with a lot of people, especially at the time that it came out.
Absolutely.
And I feel like if you're doing a more modern world, I mean, just, Avatar TikTok is going to be a mess, right? So I'd like to see those social issues addressed.
Absolutely. I love that. Yes. And you're so right, because that season was so phenomenal, because listen, Korra came in hot in every way, up to and including this sort of like, wait a minute, this isn't easy. I mean, obviously, like, nothing's particularly black and white, but I feel like we all have a pretty strong sense of like, Ozai bad and good. And to immediately come in and to say not only is the technology more complicated, but like our understanding of and relationship to bending is more complicated, and people living together is more complicated. And it's not just like harmonious, like how cool that everyone can live in the city together. Like, no, that's not a perfect scenario. Was brilliant. And I love that. I completely agree with you. Those are really tough questions, and they're tough questions to ask in a Western world, right? And we cannot seem to figure out how to answer those questions yet. So I think that's a great place to do it. I couldn't agree more. Watch, anything that I say that I have no idea about will like come back to bite me somehow. I'll get in trouble. They'll be like, you didn't know that we were planning on it. And I'm like, but no, you won't tell me anything. So now it seems like I gave something away, and I didn't. But I don't know anything about that, where anything's going really. Like I have little bits and pieces of information that I would be in so much trouble for revealing. So if I say anything, you know that it can't be that, because I can't say anything about that. Great.
And you said Avatar.
And again, feedback on that too, on Luke's question. Like, if you have other thoughts about that, you don't have to ask a question. You can just engage on that topic.
You said Avatar TikTok's messed up. Have you seen regular TikTok? Just all right, we have a question over here.
Hi, I'm Cooper.
Hi,
the
Cooper.
one with the Toph chant. I was just wondering, other than, of course, Korra alone, which you have already been asked about, what do you think is the most important episode for Korra's growth as a character?
Oh boy, single episode. I might need you guys' help for that too. I mean, obviously 4 was huge for, like the final episode of 4 was huge for so many reasons. But as far as her growth, it's so hard for me to isolate episodes and seasons. It's so hard for me. I really go to that place of like picking your favorite child or whatever. It's funny. This isn't. I come back to this so often, and it's not necessarily about Korra's development, but I remember thinking from the perspective of Korra when Lin Beifong makes the sacrifice that she makes to save others. Like from a Korra perspective, I remember being so blown away by that, and like even realizing that that's possible and that someone could do that, and that maybe the bravest thing you can do is to do that, was just mind-blowing for me. And I feel like that also affected her. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense? What do you think? Do you have a favorite? Do you have a standalone episode that's like, oh, this is the one for me?
That's also hard.
I love when I get to throw it back on you, Coop. It's the best feeling.
Yeah. I think like every season definitely has had something. I also agree with you. It is much harder than it sounds too. But I don't know. I would say it's kind of like how you talk about how with Korra alone, like Mike and Brian never really do a hard reset. Like I think it's the recurring thing that after every season, Korra is able to come back and still keep fighting. Like after Unalaq, Zahir, Kuvira, everything, every time it has been so hard, and the fact that she just keeps coming back and fights harder than she has before.
I love that. And obviously, it's funny too, because I think of things that aren't good, that aren't like, they aren't the episodes of resolution. Like breaking a connection to the spirit world doesn't feel like it's a good development moment, but certainly it leads to those moments, you know. But very well said, Cooper. I'm glad I made you answer that. Now we both look really good.
Hi, I met you yesterday. My name's Javay. And
will you say it louder for everyone?
Javay.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
I would say spelled like it sounds. It's a beautiful name.
Thank you. You got asked so many like nice deep questions. I couldn't really come up with one of those, but I like those questions. My question is, and I think I know your answer, but who would be your favorite character from Legend of Korra other than Korra?
Oh, who's my favorite character other than Korra?
Yeah.
Ooh, you think you know my answer?
Yeah.
What's my answer? You think my answer is Asami?
Yeah.
I mean,
I would say, or
I mean, yeah.
You know
I
why.
mean, yeah. I mean, she's, yeah.
You know why, yeah.
But it's hard because, like, again, there's so many, like, that's, yes. But then, and we talked about this on the panel yesterday, it's hard to separate the relationships that you have to people that you work with sometimes. And, like the day, and I love David, but PJ and I both come from like improv and comedy and stuff. And so the first moment I met PJ, I was like, oh, you are Bolin. And I am Korra, and we are friends forever. And like in some alternate universe, like we're together, and like you're just wonderful. And you know, he's so wonderful. And so the spillover kind of happens. And you know, I'm very close to John Michael Higgins, who plays Varric. So I have this, like, you know, and Maria Bamford's one of my absolute heroes of life, and she's Pema. And so there's all this, like, it's hard for me to tease those. Zelda is just amazing and so fierce, and that makes me love Kuvira more. And you know what I mean? So those things get really entangled. And I think that's one of the coolest things about the meta part of the universe. But it also like affects what sticks out to me. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, sure, Asami. Thanks, Javay.
All right, we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to have to switch to the other side, but I'll be back.
Hi, my name's Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
I know we've been doing a lot of Avatar questions. Would you be open to a question about one of your other projects?
Sure.
Stan again, Stevel.
Yeah.
Loved that show.
I'm so glad.
Your character was always the one having to keep everybody on track. And you never cracked in a scene. Like, what was your experience working on that show? Because it seemed every episode and every season, like, it just kept going further and further. And it was just a joy to watch.
Oh, thanks, Rachel. For those of you who don't know, I do more live action stuff than I do animation, really. So Stand Against Evil is a show that was, I think it's maybe still on Hulu. I think you can see it on Hulu, starring John C. McGinley, who's Dr. Cox from Scrubs, and me. And we are ostensibly in a New Hampshire town, Atlanta, Georgia. Fighting demons. So there's the and Dana Gould created it, and he was a writer for The Simpsons for many, many years, and is like hardcore horror and sci-fi nerd, and is friends with Bruce Campbell, and so the whole thing has a very like Evil Dead kind of feel to it. We use a lot of practical effects, which was really fun. I was definitely the nerd that like, you know, you talk to the Doug Jones of the world, and they're like, I'm able to fall asleep for the 4 hours it takes for them to do the first part of my makeup, and I was just leaning into the mirror the whole time. They had to be like, Janet, please stop smiling. Like, we can't get these veins that are supposed to be popping out of your face to work. So all of that was like very, very, very fun. But we shot it in Atlanta in the summer. We shared a sheriff station with Stranger Things, which was like very fun for me. And often like The Walking Dead would be just finishing or just about to do something. Like, we shared a lot of locations and stuff. But I was also wearing high-waisted brown polyester sheriff's pants, 2 belts, one with like weapons, and it was real hot. So that was the most challenging thing I've ever worked on. It was incredibly rewarding and so much fun, and I laughed and laughed, and it was fun to play like a grounded. I never expected anyone to ask me to play law enforcement in real life. So it's weird when you're like going across from your trailer to a set and like traffic stops for you. You're like, no, go ahead. And they're like, no, why don't you? So that was an interesting experience. But yeah, it was really, really fun, and I was sad for it to end. And so hopefully, I don't know, you never know. Sometimes it feels like all the time now you're like, wait, that's back? Cool. So we're always, all of us that worked on it are like, yes, I'll drop everything and go make more. So thank you for bringing it up.
Hi, my name is Jared.
Hi, Jared.
So back to Avatar.
Totally cool.
I don't know the full like backstory behind the production of Korra, but it definitely feels a little bit like they were rushing through some storylines and all that. So if you had to go back and flesh out a storyline that you feel didn't get enough attention, is there anything that you'd pick?
Sure, great question. Yeah, I knew that it was pitched to be tighter, so that it's a sort of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, people are like, I love Korra because there's no filler, and you're like, but there's no filler in the first series, and people are like, oh yes, there is. It's like, come on, it's all good. But so that was always told to me very specifically. It was like, there will be 4 books. They will be a tight 13 episodes. They will be very action-driven. Like, they have very specific arcs because that was what Mike and Brian were excited about doing. My experience of Nickelodeon and Mike and Brian was one of, like, they revered them. And I know that doesn't show up necessarily on the side of, like, why did the 4th season go online and all this kind of stuff. And we talked about it a lot when it was happening. But so they kind of got to do what they wanted, except for we all wanted there to be a kiss. And one of you very, very sagely said at some point this weekend, why are we allowed to show genocide but not 2 girls kissing? So I'm sure those were words being thrown about at Nickelodeon as well. And so So I don't have a sense really of feeling rushed. Like, my experience making the show didn't feel like it was rushed. Like, people were like, oh no, you guys were recording back to back. And I was like, that just felt like work, like great. Like, hey, I hate the distance between seasons of anything. So as much as I'm in there, wonderful, But that being said, would I have minded expansion of any number of things? No. I mean, I would like to see more, even more leading up to the moments where we first encounter the adversaries in each season, you know? I would have been happy to see that. Is there something that you felt like you wanted to see expanded? Cooper, you might want to give him some advice on the whole having the tables turn thing.
Not so much expanded, but like the intro into Kuvira with like the last episode of season 3 and then just leading into season 4.
Yeah.
Felt like there could have been a little bit more build up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about it like as you were talking earlier. I think it would be really fun in like an alternate universe where Zahir and Kuvira are going on at the same time.
Oh, sure.
So you have that.
That's really interesting.
You have the political side of Kuvira trying to take stuff over, but you have also the like bending and spiritual side of Zahir.
Yeah.
And those two are contrasting in different ways, where maybe Kuvira isn't so direct fighting, but more kind of like Amon or Unalak.
Like politicking, kind of. Yeah.
I think that'd be just a lot of
I
fun
love
to
that.
explore.
And that's kind of what I was saying, too. Yeah, like seeing more leading up to the engagement with those characters. I think that's great. I love that. That's a great idea, Jared. Damn. You answered that spot on, just like Hooper. Damn.
Hi, my name's Victoria.
Hi, Victoria Katara.
So this was a question that I didn't get a chance to ask at the panel yesterday.
Oh, sure. I'll answer for everyone else, too. So pretend like we're all here, and I'll just come up with fake answers for them.
So what either episode or scene was the most enjoyable for you to do?
Okay. All right. I'll answer for everyone else first. Greg Baldwin, Hot Tub. Gray Delisle, anytime she got to call Zuko Zuzu. Let's see, Michaela, Blind Bandit, wrestling. I can't wait for you all to tell everyone that I said this. Dante, that's Rough Buddy. Who am I missing? Cricket. Oh, that's a good one. What are we going to decide Cricket's favorite episode was or moment? You miscalculated? Love it. Great. Okay. And then, is that it? We get to me? Jenny! Oh, Appa's Lost Days. I feel pretty confident about that one, actually, based on the many conversations she and I have had. Yeah, most enjoyable. In a way, I mean, this is kind of a cop-out, but in a way, it was the first episode because that was the first time you crack open that script and you're in the space and, you know, you're recording together. So all of those people there from the first episode were there. And I was so nervous and had that roller coaster feeling of like, oh, like, okay, this is exhilaration. It's not fear. Tell yourself that. And then, but like the first moment, and this is, I've said this before, but is very true. The first moment that, Andrea was like, okay, and then let's move on to the, scene with Janet and JK. And I was like, I'm sorry. Could you say my full name and his full name out loud for me? And he's just laughing. So yeah, I mean, I think that like it's happening. It was very enjoyable. And then also like the first time I did ADR with D and heard him just do the sound of a sky bison, because he was also there to do ADR, and I couldn't believe that it was real. Like I was like, no, ha ha ha, no. They manipulate that. You do a little something something, and then they manipulate it to make it sound like the exact sound that I just watched you make. Never mind. Like that was magic to me. It was magic. Yeah. No, at the very first on the Avatar, you got to deal with it. So that is Dee's daughter, whose name is Korra. And she came back and did the other little Korra a little bit later, and is in high school now. That's so crazy. Yeah. But isn't she so good? Surprise, surprise, I guess.
Hi, Janet. It was really great to meet you yesterday.
Tell everyone your name.
My name is Rachel.
We got another Rachel on our hands.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, like, how old were you when you started voice acting? And, like, what kind of advice would you give to someone who wants to get into that kind of business?
Sure. Great question. I don't know what age I was. I mean, I definitely like did projects for friends before I even had like moved to LA. Like I had friends, I lived in San Francisco, which was like very big in sort of the initial like e-cards and like things that were being animated, like short things that were being animated that weren't necessarily show business animations. And so I got to, as they say, cut my teeth on some of that stuff. But it's funny because, like, first, I think so many of us, like, it ends up just being a continuation of what you do as a kid anyway. Like, many of us anyway, like, play with our toys and give our toys different voices and stuff. So the most organic answer would be, like, I don't remember ever not doing it because I'm just like everybody. That's part of being a kid. And the extraordinary part is just being able to hold on to that and keep doing it and then having someone actually hire you to do that. But I had been in LA. I mean, I didn't move down to LA until my 20s, like mid 20s or something. So, and I didn't get a voiceover agent right away. I had a commercial agent, and then they happened to have a voiceover division, and I finally worked up the courage to ask what it would take to be represented there, and took a couple classes, and then I started auditioning. So I'm a good example of like, yes, I did theater in public school, and that was my major, but it's not like I don't come from like, Amon doesn't have to worry about me, is I guess what I'm saying. I'm not coming from Egg Hive royalty. Just both my parents were teachers. And then I didn't, move to Hollywood instead of going to college or anything like that. I really was doing sketch comedy in San Francisco and working like a grown-up job when I ended up kind of getting, lured down to Los Angeles. So I'm very much of the, your journey is your journey, and there's no like right or wrong age to start or stop anything really. And you should go to D. Bradley Baker's site. He has a site called iwantobeavoiceactor.com, and he has been amassing advice and information for years now, just for free out of the goodness of his heart, because he's a fabulous human being. And we get asked that question a lot. And so he's created this wonderful map of like different things that you can do to get to prepare yourself. But one of the things that we always say is you're an actor, you're not a voice actor. So any sort of acting training is key, and to be in your body is still really important, even if you are ultimately using your voice. That's and all that stuff is just good for daily living anyway, I think. Like, I love improv because it taught me to fail better, and to be more forgiving of myself, and to go, why didn't I do this sooner? Why didn't I know that sooner? Why did I think I had to be perfect the first time I did anything? So I ran scared away from so many things. Like, that didn't have to happen at all, Oh man, yeah, learning to fail.
Hello, do you remember my name? I'm giving you an opportunity.
Oh, God.
Jenny Kwan remembered my name.
Oh, this is so awful. And we've spent so much time together, too.
I know.
Day one, especially, but I saw you yesterday, and I'm totally blanking.
That's okay. My name is Taylor. Now you will remember.
It's Taylor.
Sure. Yeah.
Taylor, I'm
you're
so
like,
sorry.
Oh, you're the girl with the sob story by her knee. I forgot about you.
I'm gonna leave after this.
No.
That's all it took.
Okay, I still love you.
I'm gonna fail better at forgetting your name. I'm so sorry. It was gonna happen, and of course it's happening with someone I spend a ton of time talking to and like saw multiple times. Of course it would happen.
I forget everything too. Like, it's not, if you weren't famous, I'd be like, who is that? Jenny? I don't know her name.
There you go. I encourage you to forget my name. Then we'll be even.
I won't. I hope you remember that I'm a martial artist.
Oh, I definitely remember that. I knew that when you walked up.
Wow.
Before you said anything.
That's amazing. My aura is great then.
Double black belt, if I remember correctly.
So you remember all that?
I know. I don't know why.
That's okay. So as you know, like, my journey with martial arts was heavily inspired by the universe. Half of my nerding out is not even about the characters. It's like, oh my God, Bolin just did jujitsu. I'm so excited, I'm very technical about that stuff. and you were just talking about being in your body. So my question is, have you or anyone else on the cast ever been inspired to like try to do any martial arts just from being in the show?
Yeah, I know. Do you listen to the podcast? I think Dante bragged about being an orange belt.
Yeah, I knew about
on
him.
the podcast, if memory serves. He did take, I think, from Sifu Kisu. He took a little bit of martial arts, and then I had worked with a trainer doing kickboxing stuff, and he did like a sort of mixed martial arts thing with me when I first moved to LA. So it was long before Korra, and I did when I got it. I was like, I mean, I kind of know how to. Like, will Korra be kicking pads? She won't hurt anyone, right? She'll just do a light spar.
Just a light spar, like light contact.
Yeah. But I mean, that's one of the best things about doing the podcast is like having Sifu Kisu on and Brian and talking in depth about the different styles and where they come from and why the reasoning behind what style made sense for what nation. I love wonking out on that stuff. Like, I just love learning about that. And I love that people come to it like you who have that kind of expertise and are really noticing that, because that's the kind of thing that makes, I think, well, it makes Brian stressed out because he feels like the first series, like, he's like, we just, if you've listened to the podcast or if you've listened to him talk, he's like, yeah, we just never got that right. We never quite got that right. And it's like, no, it was great. Look, you were already breaking so many barriers, like you were doing so much that was new. But like knowing the time and care that particular element, so to speak, was so important to them, that makes me so happy. And like that's the best thing to hear, that you're looking at it and going like, I see what's happening. I see the choices they're making is amazing.
Yeah, you can tell them I'm proud of them so they feel better.
Glad. Oh, Taylor.
Hello. Do you remember my name?
Yes, but you're one of several who have the same name.
Yeah.
Is it
the
Kyle?
town has.
Is it Kyle?
Yes.
Okay.
This town is infected with
and Kyle's mom made these cabbages. For those of you who have not encountered the cabbages, Kyle's mom made these amazing cabbages. Will you tell everyone her Facebook page?
Yes, it is Lovey Crafts on Facebook. It is LUVIE Crafts on Facebook.
Yeah, and so I'm like, everyone needs those cabbages and anything else she makes.
Say the word, you and I, we can have a video of just me spilling the cabbages right after the Q&A panel.
I'm totally in. Let's do it at my table. That would be really, really fun. I've already made you scream my cabbages like 8 times, so I won't make you do that now.
I'll do it 9 if I have to.
Okay, good. We'll get that video.
But my question is, I wanted to ask this at the last Q&A panel, but I wasn't sure like what the vibe was, if this would be a good question to ask. But,
ooh, juicy.
But given how we're able to like talk with each other, all the jokes we've given each other, I feel like this would be a good time to ask. So if Avatar or Korra, if the entire franchise had an adult rating, in which case they were able to drop one singular F-bomb in the entire Avatar show.
I mean,
I need to know who gets it.
Yeah.
And where would it be?
Okay, so this is cheating on my part because I have an immediate answer based on reality. I'm not saying it's the most well thought out answer and that there isn't a better one. I would happily love to hear from any of you what your opinion is. But when we read Turf Wars, Mindy came on for the second one to read Lin Beifong, and Mindy is an improviser at heart and is so awesome and just got real carried away, even though the whole thing was like run by Nickelodeon and Dark Horse. And at some point, and I know she was talking about someone in Turf Wars, but in my interpretation of this now, I apply it to Amon. So it would be what Mindy said pertaining to Amon, which was, he was such a shit. Because she said that, and I about wet my pants. I was like, oh my God, she really just said that. Yeah, what would you?
For me, it's a bit of an obvious one. I would have to give it to Iroh. No one deserves that bomb more than Iroh.
What would he say?
I know exactly where he would put it.
Okay.
It would be in Season 2, Episode 9, Bitter Jam, where Zuko and Iroh are having the conversation, where Zuko goes, I know what you're thinking. She's my sister, and we should try to get along.
Yes.
Without a beat, he would just go, fuck no, this bitch is crazy and she needs to go down.
Yeah. Better work. Yeah. Yes, 100%. You win. I guess we have one for each now, so we're set. But again, welcome to suggestions. I love that question, and I want to hear all the answers.
Hi, Janet.
Okay, this is one I was worried about. I literally thought about you last night.
Did you really?
Falling asleep, I thought, I know she's going to be at the panel, and I'm blanking on her name, and I'm going to be so sad because we've already had all our conversations, and you were at anyway. Please remind me.
Liz. It's okay. Just the fact that you thought about me when you're going to sleep is enough.
Sometimes it's like, no, I was like, my stomach went into a knot. I was like, that's one I'm going to really feel. I'm really going to feel it when I can't remember.
Two-parter, if you're cool with that.
Please.
If you want to answer the question I asked at the panel yesterday, because I think we both blacked out and then Dante just answered.
Yes. We talked about it a little bit at the table, but.
Yeah. If you could have, like, literally your dream guest on the podcast, who would that be? Like, living or dead, Avatar or otherwise? And then for today's question, how much of you is in Korra? And how much did Korra like influence you as a person, like after doing the show?
Great question, Liz. Cannot forgive myself. Taylor, Liz, you guys can get together and deface pictures of me later. Okay, so dream guest. So I'm going to go ahead and say we have almost recorded May a million times. She wants to do it. She loves the podcast. I'm going to go ahead and just say that in case that's not out there already. She is so busy. Our schedule changes all the time. And so there have been so many almosts. It will happen. I'm so excited. She's excited. Dante can't wait. It's going to be great. So I'm going to go ahead and just manifest that. Obviously, having Mako on would be phenomenal. I don't know what that would look like, because if you put it into the shape of this universe, that would just be me blubbering the entire time and him being like, well, who are you? And then Dante and Zuko, like, talking to Hisako. So, but I would say, like, we're not at Korra yet, but when Alicia Keys did like a whole Instagram video about how she found Korra and like needed to tell the world about how deep her understanding of Korra was and that it got her through something, I was like, love to talk about that with you on the podcast. Me thought to myself. So that's a person who's real high up there for me, because that was definitely a moment of like, okay, like, still not more important than these conversations, frankly. Like, just because she's famous, it doesn't make it different. Other than that, like, it was just kind of like, I didn't expect it to come from that direction. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that was just very cool and unexpected. And then how much of me is in Korra? I mean, I definitely related to Korra before I knew very much about her. I think that's, I guess, maybe what Brian and Mike saw and Nickelodeon saw in casting me. So it's hard not to take the Korra hate personally, even though I didn't write her, and but I feel very defensive of the show for that reason. But again, the door's always open. Tell your friends. They just are missing out. It's as simple as that. It's not a thing, and Mike and Brian and Aang would not approve of the hate. So, but yeah, and the idea of like, we talked about earlier, like failing better and feeling like, whatever you're tasked with is like this thing that you have to do by yourself, or that, you're going to let everybody down or whatever. I don't know where that came from. I don't get that from my parents. But I've always felt that way. Like, I've always felt like criticism is death, and it's not, and it shouldn't be. And you have to see it and hear it and take it and learn from it and know when you agree with it and when you don't, and know when to walk away from it and not take it personally if you don't agree. So that whole journey was great for me. And then with the Korrasami thing, I was like, did you know it? Like, I've never not been out as, I guess pansexual, but at the time we said bye. I don't know if Mike and Brian knew that. Like, I know that they were on my podcast and they listened to my podcast and I talked about it from like day one. But that, those characters told the writers what was happening. I mean, that's what they experienced from it. But for me, it felt like, wait, what? Nuh-uh. okay. And then like in my mind, I was like, this is correcting like 2 different like girls I was in love with in high school that didn't work out very well because we were friends first. I was like, oh good, this will fix all of that. This is going to retcon my own high school experience. So that I definitely can relate to. Those are the immediate things that come to mind. Thanks, Liz.
Hi, my name is Pierce.
Hi, Pierce. We just only met moments ago before this.
So I was curious, across both shows, which was the moment that was most impactful to you, just personally, or just what moment meant the most to you?
Yeah. Well, from the first show we talked about it. I mean, I think that like moment in the swamp is like from there everything follows kind of. Even though I love all the stuff that leads up to that, and then I mean, yeah, probably the Korrasami thing. It really meant a lot to me, and now it's infused with what it meant to so many other people that I've been lucky enough to like talk to face about it. So that's probably it. Quite honestly, Korra alone was a big one too. What if I was like, it was just like the silliest one? What if I was like, well, she had this one bowl of noodles. I've never been able to forget it. Great question, Pierce.
All right, looks like we only have time for one more question, and it's going to be this young lady over here.
Hello, my name is Katie.
Hi, Katie.
So, The Last Airbender kind of takes place in a more, like, ancient time.
Mm-hmm.
The music is more traditional, and it just takes place in a different time, whereas in Korra, it's more modern. The music is a little bit more, like, brassy and upbeat, and there's more technology, cars and such.
Sure.
So my question is, do you have, like, an aesthetic that you prefer more? Like what time period do you think you like better?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I've thought about it a lot. The problem is that for all of my like anxious future surfing, when it comes to Avatar, I'm really good at being in the moment of wherever I am. So I'm so between books 2 and 3 right now, and I remember like all this work that I've done on not work, but in a bad way. But like when I write the episodes for Dante and me, like I watch the episode numerous times and like go to refer to the book and like look on the internet and go to Avatar Wiki and so like I think I pretty quickly had, even during the first season of like really deep diving into the first series, this like moment of really having more compassion for people who didn't accept Korra because it was something different and because Aang was already dead and all of these things. I had that moment of like, oh no, we'll have this only for 3 seasons, and I do love I love the filler. I love the various quests. I love a quest, and I love all the animals. And like, there's a lot of focus on those simple moments and the different communities. And things are fast and furious with Korra. And so, like, my answer right now, honestly, is I think where I feel at home is in the earlier era. I'm sure that will change when we get into Korra, but it does feel less stressful. Genocide aside, and I don't put that aside lightly. I am a high-strung person, and I enjoy Sokka waking up in a sleeping bag almost every episode. Do you know what I mean? Like, that feels like, this is really hard and really complex, but still that waterfall looks really nice. You know what I mean? That's our job today. Yeah, crazy, but that's how I've been feeling. Mm-hmm.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time. If you didn't get your question answered, certainly visit Janet at her table.
I'll like grab a water and take a second, and then I'll run down to my table, and then I have like a little photo op thing. But I'll come down I'll come down right away.
Don't forget your chicken platter.
There's a chicken plate, but that's at 2, I think.
Okay, as long as you got that scheduled in, you need to.
Yeah. Yeah. We got a full hour before that. So, but thank you so much. I can't believe how many of you there are. It's a Sunday afternoon. Thank you so much. What a wonderful.
And thank you.
I can't wait for our retreat. We need to start planning where and when.
Thank you for watching this video. I am Invader Zim, and I traffic in doom. And so, if you do not subscribe to this channel, you will have doom that befalls you by me, Invader Zim.